Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, joined by the Trashman. And Trashman, we're back into more of an off-season schedule of podcasts here. What the hell's going on, brother?
Not too much. Hoping to get out into this nice weather sometime soon.
Yeah, it's nice. The weather down here in Texas is weird, dude. You wake up in the morning and it's below freezing, and by the time it gets a little later in the day, you're having to shed layer by layer by layer, hour by hour.
It's gonna get to like 70 this afternoon.
Yeah, I'll have to take off the beanie at some point. I can't do it during the broadcast. My hair's probably just a huge disaster. Okay, so a couple of things we want to get to just quickly here before we get started with any of the content for the podcast. Just Trashman will be overseeing the new Dynasty rankings over at RosterWatch.com. We brought those onto our own site for our pro subscribers this year. Of course, he'll be working in concert with me, and we'll be doing a whole lot of that stuff together. But Trashman Weekly is going to have an update to the Dynasty, the Dynasty startup rankings every week. We won't get the rookies in there until we're done with all of the rookie spotlights, which we will be starting today. Our boy Kip C. What up, Kip C? Senior Bowl announced the teams. Off-season grind is here. That's right. And we'll still have the DFS stuff over at Roster Watch. The matchup tool is up right now. The Vegas tool is up. That'll be updated throughout the week. The DFS cheat sheets, all the rest of it. I'll be on the radio again this Saturday. I don't know, Trashman, are you on the radio with me, or is that Byron? Okay, so Saturday we have radio, and then, but yeah, man, we got the Senior Bowl coming up. If I can manage to pass all the COVID tests and stuff like that, have you heard everything that they're requiring, Trashman? I think I got to bring a stool sample to this thing.
I'm bringing some hair in a bag.
I don't
them
like
to test. No,
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
I think we both had it fairly recently. So
I don't even know. Like, I don't have anything that proves it. Like, they won't take an antibody test. Regardless, hopefully we'll all be the Senior Bowl will be fine. But we'll have the Senior Bowl, we'll have the Combine, we'll have all kinds of stuff to cover. But
I have a positive test.
Just
to
Trashman is just gonna get in the quick and dirty way. Okay, so we're going to go over some Dynasty stuff today, talk over a few of these prospects. As always, we start out with the Senior Bowl guys, so we can get them out of the way, get a look at them. I started out with Jahan Dotson this week, the wide receiver out of Penn State. His unofficial listing, 5'11", 184 pounds. He'll be 22 in his rookie season in the NFL. He had a breakout age of 20. As far as his college production, a market share of 31% of team receptions last year, 34% of team receiving yards last year, and 48% of team receiving touchdowns last year. So Johan Dotson, absolute monster for the Penn State Nittany-Lions as far as, just as far as the way that he dominated within the context of his offense. When I noticed about him, and maybe, as you're listening to this, you can pull up his highlights or something like that so you can kind of watch and see what it is that I'm talking about. I would like to do a screen share here on YouTube with him, but the fact of the matter is the last time we did that, we got dinged for like a copyright thing and we got in trouble for it. So we can't be showing we can't be showing the highlights, but it's just look with Johan Dotson, it's just this really, truly elite ability to get into and out of his routes. The way he can stop, the way he can start, the way he can change direction. And it's not just the same way as it was with, like, say, and not that Cooper Kupp's turned bad, because Cooper Kupp's like the best wide receiver in the NFL, but it reminded me a little bit.
He's the most targeted wide receiver in the NFL.
It reminded me of Cooper Kupp in a way, but in a way it didn't, because Cooper Kupp doesn't have that he just had that. Well, he did. Cooper Kupp has athleticism. I mean, look at him. But it's not just
like this kid.
No, because Cooper Kupp played with more nuance, and he got open with nuance and some savvy. And remember, Cooper Kupp was 23 at his Senior Bowl, right?
I thought he was like 25.
He could have been even 24. Like he was old at his Senior Bowl. But I mean, this guy, what he can do, Jahan Dotson, is during the offseason, he measured in at a 4.3 340. And he does not play like a 4-3-3 guy, as far as I'm concerned. He's not a lid lifter. He's not a guy that's going to take the top off the defense. But there's something about that when he can just sink into his routes, and at his routes transition point, he just completely owns it. It's like, it really is cool to watch. He's an outstanding talent in that way. He reminded me in that way in some ways. I think Deonte Johnson was the first comp that came to my mind. I think it's a really good comp as far as his size, his projected speed, his agility. Now, Deonte Johnson didn't test with elite agility numbers, but we've just seen his ability to get open at the National Football League, how he's just so adept at finding those soft spots in zone coverage. He exploits them to help out his quarterback just you can rack up lots of targets that way. And that's what Jahan Dotson did. He's got the sticky hands. He has the playmaker mentality. He's fearless. He can shift gears just like that, right? Just be like, he can shift gears really quick. And so I think maybe I don't think he's a just straight line all the way down the field kind of speed kind of guy that can hurt you like that, because he's not a size speed specimen in the same way that's just going to win on a contested catch down the sidelines. He can he can find his way into zones and then kind of slant and go or just go schoolyard with his quarterback to just break off these really big plays. Because
he can improvise.
Yeah, dude, he's just super. That's the way he's fastest, but he's not. I just don't think he's a D-Jax that can line up and just burn you straight line just down the sidelines. He's not that. His speed at least doesn't manifest that way much in the 5 or 6 games that I watched of him. As far as and it's just his body control, really, really, really good for Jahan Dotson. So my comps were like Golden Tate, Deonte Johnson, Van Jefferson, just because he's got that kind of, when you have these guys that look like they're really good route runners, they're really schooled in it and stuff like that, then you find out that they're really fast too, but the speed doesn't really show up, That to me has a real Van Jefferson feel to it.
I don't know. I saw a little bit of Odell Beckham in him in some of those catches.
Well, the thing about Odell is that, and I think what you see about Odell is that like he's good after catch with his shakes, but he's not like a tackle breaker. And Odell's the same way, right? They're both good after catch, but not a real threat to like break tackles. He's just kind of small. He doesn't have the prototypical size. He plays a lot outside in college. I think he'll probably be more of a slot type of guy in the NFL. But, dude, I mean, he can line up all over the field. He's a former 4-star recruit, got better every year that he was at Penn State. He's mentioned in the same sentence for basically all of the record keeping as guys like Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin. I mean, this is a high-level prospect. And so we're going to get to see him at the Senior Bowl. We're going to get to kind of evaluate him there and see. I have high expectations for him coming in. To me, I think he looks like a day 2 pick. I mean, well, we'll have to see what happens. But if Jahan Dotson is a day 2 pick, and if you look at some of the rankings around the industry and some of the draft websites like the Draft Network and some other places, they have Dotson as a top 50-ish kind of prospect. And I think that after watching him, I can certainly see it. There's a bunch more evaluations to do. This is the first evaluation I've done this year, but I really do like him. And so if we're talking about one quarterback, just traditional dynasty leagues, when you think about the other guys that you have, some of the juniors, and you have the Alabama guys, and you have the Arkansas kid, Treylon Burks, and there's a million of these dudes the Purdue kid, Bell, there's just so many of these guys, the USC guy, Drake London. There's so many of these guys that could be pushed up the boards early. It's a treasure trove of wide receivers. And sometimes these guys who are seniors get pushed down a little bit. I'm thinking if he's like in a 1 quarterback league, Jahan Dotson, and again, we'll see how he's at the Senior Bowl. We'll see the combine. But it feels like if you're in an early dynasty league draft, I mean, if he falls to the middle of round 2 in a rookie draft, to me, it starts to feel like a dude who, depending on where he lands, could be really good.
If he runs a 4.3 something, I don't imagine him dropping.
I don't think he'll run a 4.3. I haven't projected it a 4.40. That's a 4.33 hand timed at the Penn State in-house combine. So, we're always going to add 5/10 of a second onto that. Plus, it's like you get the home cooking at those things where your coaches, your strength and conditioning coaches, take the times. So, but here's the other thing: we know what freaks the Penn State strength and conditioning coaches have created from a testing perspective over the course of the last few years, and so we could see Jahan Dotson really surprise us with some good times. So that's where I am on Jahan Dotson, the first guy. Like him a lot. We'll have more coverage on him from the Senior Bowl. Trashman did his first rookie profile, and that was on Nevada wide receiver Romeo Doubs, who I was super interested in seeing because I'd watched the quarterback Carson Strong, who will be at the Senior Bowl as well. Do you? To me, when I watch, why don't you give us your thoughts on Doubs, Trashman? Because I read your profile and I did my work on him this morning. We need to talk about comps because I didn't like your initial comp, and I didn't like that you and I both had Deonte Johnson for the first guy we looked at. Plus, my guy looks a lot more like Deonte Johnson than your guy does. He's much taller. But give us the rundown on Romeo Doubs out of Nevada, one of 3 Nevada players that will be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, just about 1 month from today.
Yeah, well, I mean, the sizes and everything. I think his gameplay reminded me of Johnson's. Just the fact that he can play. He's successful in intermediary routes. He's successful down the field. He plays a lot faster than he actually runs. At least he's estimated at running like a 4.52.
Is that where you put him, or is that where is that?
No, that's.
Is that what they're saying? Is that where they're saying that he's running in his senior practices at Nevada? Okay, so he probably runs a 4.57 or something. He doesn't look that fast to me.
But he looks fast on the field. I mean, he's able to get behind defenses regularly, fairly easily. I think really he's got good tenacity, good acceleration. I think he gets to his top speed quickly. And so I think he gets behind defenses that way. He's got good hands, he's got sticky hands, but he tends to let the ball into his body on deep passes.
He doesn't seem to understand how to catch really well just yet.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like Willie Mays out there.
I see sometimes when he's like holding his hands like this for the football to come in. So I'm just like, what is Romeo Doubs doing? How is he trying to catch the football like that when it's coming at him at this angle? I think his hands aren't really that. I'm not sure his hands are that good. Maybe I'm wrong. I only watched 2 of his games, but I'm going to watch more.
He improved every year that he played in college. I mean, yardage wise, over 1,100 yards his last season. Improving 200 to 300 yards on each season. He's a prototypical build for a wide receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's got really good body control for his size. Able to get, already getting in both toes on the sideline. He was also a punt returner.
Yeah, I saw that. He doesn't look. I mean,
a big guy like that. It's pretty surprising, but he's got pretty good downfield vision, and maybe that's another reason why he can get behind defenses so easily. Because it's not his speed that's working for him. He's a vigorous, tenacious player. He'll out muscle you, he'll out effort you on the field. His teammates laud his work ethic. And his dad also played in college ball. I think it's Southern Utah.
Now you got me interested. His dad played NFL ball?
No. He played college ball.
Oh, okay.
But he did remind me, I mean, like where I was thinking about comps, and he did kind of remind me of a player who had a really great Senior Bowl and who also had pedigree, and was also 6'2", 200 pounds. Can you guess who it is?
Recent Senior Bowler?
The last one that I went to.
Was it Marvin McNutt?
No, pants off.
Zay. I like that. I think Zay's an okay. Because Doubs has that angular body too, like that angular top to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's look. How Zay? How fast was Zay at his combine? I forget. What's that? 2017? Yeah, 6'2", 201, 4.45. Maybe Zay is a little bit faster, right? Zay's a little bit faster, but I kind of like it. I think that, and I don't think that you give Doubs enough credit. Maybe it was just the 2 games that I watched, but I don't think you give him enough credit for like his little short routes too. You know,
I said at the top of my description that he succeeds at intermediary routes as well as the long ball.
I don't think he's just a deep guy. My first thought when I watched him, I said this guy kind of reminds me of Nelson Aguilar. I think a mix of like a Nelson Aguilar, Zay Jones type of comp for him is. I think that I'm going to write that down. I think Nelson Aguilar, Zay Jones. How much do you think there's the downfield body catches? He lets the football into his body too much. Like I said, I'm not sure about his hands. I'm going to be able to tell at the Senior Bowl right off the bat. We'll be able to just watch and just hear how the ball sounds whenever it hits his hands. But
pretty rudimentary route tree that he runs.
But that's a prolific offense. And here's the other thing, Trashman. Are you concerned at all about these 2 things? All right, so we know he had the 80 receptions for the 1109 last year and 11 touchdowns. That's good, right? Almost 30% of his team's touchdowns. But that 1109 and 80, that 80 receptions was only 20% of the team market share. The 1109 for Doubs was only 25% of the team's market share. So you compare it to other guys like, we just talked about Jahan Dotson. He's up at 31, 34, and 48. Within the context of his offense, he was not as productive, and he had Carson Strong pulling the trigger, who's a good quarterback. I felt like Carson Strong, like watching Doubs' tape, I really liked the way that Carson Strong could just drop it in the bucket for some of those little hands catches over the shoulder. That'll be interesting to see. It's always also kind of a boon for these dudes when they come to the Senior Bowl and the quarterback and the wide receiver come from the same college, and those guys are automatically on the same page. It kind of gives them a real leg up from the very beginnings because they don't really need to get their timing together like some of these guys who don't know their quarterback or their wide receiver from Adam.
What I said about Doubs as far as his future prospects go is I don't know if he's going to be that every down kind of player, but I do think he's going to be an upside player in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be able to play that X position, that X receiver. He really hasn't seen much press in college as the deep ball specialist on his team, really. And we're talking about mediocre competition in the Mountain West.
Oh, yeah. Do you think he's going to test well? I don't think he's going to test well.
I think he might run faster than people are thinking he's going to run.
Fair enough. I mean, at this point, at this stage in the process, it's really hard to know. But the rookie spotlights for our pro members at RosterWatch will continue to get updated as we get the new numbers in, and as we get new information, we always go back in and edit them to make sure that as you're reading later on in the process, that everything is completely up to date. Anything else on Jahan Dotson or on Romeo Doubs?
Romeo. Anything else? Let's see. He's actually really elusive after the catch. Where was it? He ranked first in returning wide receivers in yards per reception who had over 1,000 yards in 2020. So returning receivers in 2021, he ranked first for yards per reception for anyone who had over 1,000 yards.
I mean, I know how this all happened. The Senior Bowl wanted Carson Strong. They were doing all their work on him. I mean, if you're doing the work on him, Romeo Doubs can't help but jump off the page. And they've just know. I mean, he was a Biletnikoff finalist. He was first team All Mountain West. He was, all. Oh wait, no. So for in 2021. He was he was first team All West. He was also first team All West in 2020, all Mountain West in 2020. So he's had a couple of years of big production. They wanted Carson Strong there. They like to get these package deals of players. So super interested to see Romeo Doubs at the Senior Bowl. All right. Let me ask you a couple Dynasty questions here, Trashman, before we get out. And I wrote these down just as I was sort of thinking about some of the different topics. And as we start to rank these guys, what do you do with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf now that it looks like there's going to be some kind of divorce with Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, all the rest of it? I mean, it feels like that, that's a situation of uncertainty where we'll have to move those guys down in the rankings to some degree. Tyler Lockett's already a dude who is getting long in the tooth as it is, that has just basically this ESP connection with Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf, not necessarily the same connection with Russell Wilson, but young, athletic as hell. I mean, he could be a dynasty option for you for the next 7 years, but it's just we're not sure about the situation. How would you handle those two? How do you sort of value them?
I feel like you kind of have to keep them in the same place. I mean, the thing is, Tyler Lockett, I think Tyler Lockett was kind of undervalued coming into this season. So I don't think if you're just talking about where he was at the beginning of this season and where he'll be at the beginning of next season, I think it'll probably be around the same place. Metcalf, on the other hand, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he's not quite healthy. I don't know if it's just Russell Wilson can't get him the ball effectively right now after that surgery. It's a really interesting kind of
Tyler Lockett's going to be 30.
But the thing is, Metcalf isn't getting the targets. So I don't think we can downgrade Metcalf that much. I think on really any other team right now, he would be getting double-digit targets.
I can't believe that Metcalf's going to be 30 this year. I mean, Lockett's going to be 30.
Tyler Lockett, yeah, that's crazy.
Starting to get old, man.
We're starting to play like it.
Starting to make me feel old, man. I remember a wet behind the ears Tyler Lockett at his Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I remember scouting him.
Okay. What about your Cowboys and this whole thing with Michael Gallop? Do you think that do you think there's any? I was thinking about it because Gallop was the whole deal. It's like, what are they going to do with Gallop? Are they going to bring him back? Maybe could they get rid of him? Could they get Amari off of contract, but somehow maybe pay Gallop instead, or keep Gallop for a cheaper price? Do you think at this point, maybe if the Cowboys were smart, they could, because Gallop had an ACL injury, or like at Christmas time, or was that just this last week? So was that versus Arizona? Was that this last game where Gallop hurt his ACL? I think it was. I'm sure somebody in the chat will let us know. It's like it all mixes together to me. But I think it was just versus. I think it was just yeah. It was versus Arizona. And so if he's going to be out until next year, he'll probably be out all next season. If you were as a Cowboys fan, would you like the Cowboys just to see if you could get him back on some sort of cheap deal now that he's all hurt?
I mean, the Cowboys have no shortage of third wide receivers on their roster right now. I mean, Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown. I mean, they all kind of do the same thing. Michael Gallop has played above his head for his career up to this point. Nobody really expected this out of Gallop when they drafted him.
What about one guy that I wanted to talk about was, do you think Cedric Wilson's going to come in? We're going to play Cedric Wilson in DFS during the playoffs. I'll bet you we will. He'll be like 3K and everybody will play him.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Najee Harris? He had the big game last week in the Big Ben's final game at Heinz Field. I think he still probably maintains a whole lot of dynasty value as the 1.01 or 1.02 last year in rookie drafts. But to me, there were times this season where he just did not look good. He looked really good in that last game. There were times where he did not look good. And now there's no Big Ben. And the offensive line.
I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Hey, have you seen Mason Rudolph or any of these dickheads? It's a pretty bad thing. Yeah, it's a pretty bad thing. Unless they go out and they can get I don't do you think at this point Aaron Rodgers or somebody still in play for them? Because
maybe,
then selling
maybe Russell Wilson,
because at that point selling Najee Harris would come back to bite you in the ass like a boomerang. That that thing would come knock you right back in the head and just make you fall.
Yeah, I don't
clean
see
over
any reason to sell Harris right now.
Why? But don't you think that he might just be like, especially with this last week's performance, he's going out on a super high note. People are going to remember Big Ben's last game like that. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend whenever are they playing Baltimore? Pittsburgh and Baltimore? I'll pull up the matchup tool.
Yeah, I think so.
But it didn't Baltimore's actually been a tough matchup for opposing runners just because everybody's just choosing to throw on them right now. But I don't know. I think if he has a big end of the season, people might not look back and realize, dude, there were times during this year where Najee just did not look good. He did not look good, and the offensive line is not going to be able to fix itself over the course of his rookie contract. He might be having to break in a whole new quarterback. I just think that there's risks there with
yeah, there are risks, but I mean, I feel like there were maybe 2 or 3 running backs who looked good in every game this season.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but here's the thing: Najee carries a value.
If we're talking about young running backs who have the lion's share of carries on their team,
there's nobody who has a bigger opportunity share than Najee Harris. I think the offensive line sucks, and it's not going to be getting better anytime soon. And I think that the quarterback play might just go to complete limbo for the next couple of years.
Well, then you're relying on touches.
Yeah. Well, would you trade Najee for? I guess you don't know yet because you haven't done all the rookies. Yeah. But do you think you would trade him for the 1.02 or 1.03? Probably not, just because
bird in the hand.
Bird in hand. Okay. Najee Harris, bird in hand. Maybe that's what we'll call this episode. Is it past time to sell Christian McCaffrey in Dynasty? Because I think everybody's going to think he's too injury prone at this point. People are going to say, look, I love me some CMC, but he's going to be 26 this year. He's right up against what our friend, the Podfather, calls the age apex for these running backs. He's actually going to hit it this year. And when he does, it's not like, it isn't like people are going to say, oh, well, it's fine for McCaffrey because, he's been a perfect picture of health the whole time. That hasn't been the case. And now he keeps getting hurt. It keeps breaking my daughter's heart. I don't know what to. I don't know what to tell her. She's like, "Why does he keep getting hurt?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. He just kind of keeps getting hurt."
Because they play him like he's, like he's
LaDainian Tomlinson.
I was not gonna say LaDainian Tomlinson. I was gonna say like Jerome Bettis. Like the way that they put him out there. I mean, the thing is, he needs to be a 1A on a 1A 1B backfield.
But the reason we love Christian McCaffrey in fantasy is because he's a true 3-down dude that can help you so much in the receiving.
The thing is, he doesn't have to be to help you in fantasy. I mean, he's got home run potential every play.
Okay, well, people are down on him. He is not going to be he's not going to be a sexy buy.
I'll buy him if somebody's selling it for cheap. I'll take him.
I am too. I am too. I'll take the risk. Do you think Matt Rule will be back next year? He sure has donked it up. Like, I had such high hopes for that guy. He's really donked it up to end this season.
I think so.
I think he's just got just enough of that sweet talking ability that he's going to be able to do it. Kip C's talking about we're going to buy into Rashad Penny when he lands somewhere like Miami or Atlanta next year after having 4 good games this year. Oh, he's kind of laughing about it, but I think Rashad Penny actually finally looks. He just looked good. He certainly.
He's been inconsistent though.
Not these last few games. If we're just talking about recency.
What was it? 2 weeks ago, where he had the stinker.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about these last couple games. But yeah, he came in. No, that was 3 weeks ago.
Was it 3?
Because he came in. Big game, down game, two big games.
Okay.
If I have that right. What about DeAndre Swift? Did he lose dynasty value this year in your mind?
I don't think so.
You're not worried about the fact that he just didn't have a very good season. I mean, he was basically before
when
he got
on the field, he was good.
Well, he was the most utilized receiving back in the league during the time that he was healthy, even more so than Christian McCaffrey was. So you're still in on DeAndre Swift?
Yeah.
Bad football team and all.
Bad football team and all. Yeah. He's the kind of player that can mitigate that kind of circumstance.
Okay. Now, just quickly, this kind of goes into Dynasty, but it's a little bit of redraft too. Okay, so we'll just do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 situations I wanted to talk about. You just give me the over/under. Where in 2022 redraft and best ball leagues these guys are going to be going? Because of course we're going to have the best ball cheat sheet up at some point here in the next month or so for 2022. And as I was kind of looking at it, a few of the situations that popped out to me, dude, coming off 266 yards and 3 touchdowns for Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, one of the most dominant performances I've seen out of a wide receiver in a long time. Just the way that he looked out there. I mean, he just looked like he's on a pit. I mean, you're not going to stop Ja'Marr Chase anytime soon, dude. Over under Ja'Marr Chase in 12-team half-point PPR leagues next year. Pick 2.01.
So over being,
how about we say earlier or later?
Okay, earlier.
He'll go Ja'Marr Chase, first round pick.
Yeah.
In 12-team
leagues. So. So you don't think so? I thought he was the best receiver in the league this season.
Well, I mean, I certainly love.
Maybe not statistically speaking, but I mean,
just the way he looked, like that's what I kept saying. Like you're not going to stop this guy anytime soon. You're not going to stop him.
I'd be fine taking him with my first pick.
You're not going to stop him in fantasy either, unless you're my fantasy team. So I won one of our main leagues with Ja'Marr Chase. In our other league, I had Ja'Marr Chase, Trashman, and I lost 176.97 to 177.04. I lost by less than a goddamn yard.
Yeah.
So I'm still hoping.
It reminds me of the season that I lost in my big money league by 0.25 points.
Unbelievable. Oh, yeah. How much did that cost you in that 10K buy-in? That 0.25.
Well, it didn't cost me anything.
Oh, because you stayed.
You stayed.
Well, how much did it cost your investors? Trashman. All right. So wait, but all right. So we talked. You think you think Ja'Marr Chase will be first round pick? So I mean,
you don't. Okay, what wide receivers are going to go before him?
I'll just tell you that.
Cooper
Kupp.
How
about I tell you the players who go before him? Derrick
Okay.
Henry will go before him. Alvin Kamara will go before him. Dalvin Cook will go before him. Jonathan Taylor will go before him. Does Aaron Jones go before him? Maybe not. What about does Zeke? What about Zeke and Chubb and stuff? No,
I'm not taking Zeke before him. Maybe Chubb.
Maybe David Montgomery's a first round pick next year. I don't know.
No.
Devontae Adams will go before him.
I mean, I'm feeling like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and maybe Cooper Kupp. What other wide receiver is going to go in front of him?
Yeah, no one's going to take in a traditional league. Nobody's going to be taking any. The sheen is worn off taking Travis Kelce that early. No one's taking quarterback that early. Ja'Marr Chase, man, first round pick, unbelievable. All right, I'm on Ross St. Brown. Earlier or later than pick 4.08.
Earlier?
You think people are just going to say, dude, he can do it with Jared Goff, who sucks. He can do it with is it Tim Boyle? Who's been throwing him the football? I forgot. It hasn't been Tim Boyle. Who has it been? It hasn't been David Blau. Is it Tim Boyle? I think it's Tim Boyle. He could do it with this idiot. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. What the Lions do in the draft. But if things and at least in the wide receiver core stay close to the same, I think he's going to live up to his potential.
Okay, so next year, would you rather have I'm on Ross St. Brown or Jalen Waddle in year 2 with the way that he's been coming on just as a target monster.
I mean, Jalen Waddles is like breaking rookie records. I like Jalen Waddle just as a prospect more, so I'll stick with him.
And you can't think. I mean, the situation in Miami is not that good, but it's clearly. I mean, it's better than whatever's going to happen in Detroit, depending on what they do with the quarterbacks there. Okay, two more. Michael Pittman next season or DJ Moore next season?
I'll say, that's tough.
I try to make him tough because DJ Moore is so good, right? But who knows what the quarterback situation is going to be? Who knows if it's going to be a new year where they're having to adjust to a
I mean, DJ Moore's a better player.
Yes.
But
Michael Pittman
I'll say
Michael
Pittman. I'll say Michael Pittman.
That's tough, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
DJ Moore's a player, but he's left a kind of bad taste in people's mouth. Okay, the final one. This one I know is going to be tough. I can't tell if these are two guys you like, two guys you hate, maybe one of each. In the year of our Lord, 2022, T. Higgins or Keenan Allen?
PPR or
half point? Half point, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, man.
They both have such sick young quarterbacks. Keenan Allen has been a little bit more dependable, but he's older. He has Mike Williams presumably leaving. T. Higgins will continue to have Jamar Chase to worry about.
I think I'll take T because I can probably get him cheaper.
What? But no. That isn't.
This is what's the question?
This is in a vacuum. Which one would you rather have if you're up to pick? And the T. Higgins and Keenan Allen are both sitting on the board. You get neither one cheaper.
I think I go with Keenan.
And that's the correct answer.